There are stories we have known since childhood. The European werewolf who transforms under the full moon, and the vampire who fears silver. These are comfortable horror stories. They have long been studied, neatly categorized, and have even grown outdated. But the world is vast, and in its most remote, sweltering, or conversely, frozen corners, dwell entirely different creatures. These are not mere monsters, but complex, often purpose-driven mechanisms of revenge, karmic retribution, or the guarding of borders. They do not transform because of the moon. They change their shape because they have business to attend to. Let us set aside the familiar tales and speak of the 5 most dangerous and peculiar were-beasts you have likely never heard of. If you ever find yourself in these places, you would be wise to know what exactly to look for in the darkness. Layak, the sorcerers of nightly Bali. We begin in Bali, an island that most of us associate with yoga, surfing, and rice terraces. A bright, sunny place, yet it is here, in the silence of the palm groves, that one of the most insidious entities of Balinese folklore hides, the Layak. The Layak is not just a shapeshifter, but a nocturnal sorcerer whose danger lies in its astonishing duality. By day, it could be your neighbor, a farmer, or even a temple attendant, leading a completely ordinary life. But at night, its beastly essence separates itself. Imagine, the human body lies at home, sleeping peacefully, or appearing to, while its spiritual, animalistic form goes about its affairs. A Layak can take the form of an enormous black dog, a sinister wild boar, or some indescribable flying chimera. This duality is what makes it so frightening. How do you fight a monster whose master is your own relative, lying peacefully under a mosquito net? So what makes the Layak dangerous? Most often, its visits are of a targeted, almost bureaucratic nature. Attacks on the enemies of a clan, karmic punishments for desecrating temples or violating ancient pacts. However, the most common and terrifying outcome of a Layak's visit, as told in the villages, is the sudden, inexplicable fevers and illnesses that seem to enter a home the day after its appearance. If you want to know whether a Layak is prowling nearby, pay attention to very strange details. For instance, you might discover bruises in the morning for no reason, or see the track of a pig circling your house, yet it begins nowhere and leads nowhere. It simply breaks off. Locals also speak of cold incense smoke that suddenly, defying the laws of physics, begins to drift not upward but down toward the ground. And how to recognize one in human form when it walks among people? Curiously, in daily life, the Layak is said to have an inexplicable and powerful craving for raw garlic and pungent spices. Perhaps this is an attempt to throw a dog off its scent, or simply a consequence of its nocturnal adventures. They also avoid mirrors at night. Apparently, they do not wish to see their work face. The local advice is simple but elegant. You must lock the perimeter with light, oil lamps at the corners of the yard, and most importantly, keep salt and lime at your threshold. In Balinese beliefs, these literally cut the path of the separating essence. Bultungin, the hyena people of the Sahel. We move from the humid tropics of Bali to the dry, dusty Sahelian zone of Africa, Nigeria, Niger, Chad. Here, among the Hausa and Kanuri peoples, dwells the Bultungin, or hyena man. These are not creatures that transform spontaneously. In the lore, they are ordinary people who consciously decide to become hyenas. To do so, they use special ointments, belts made of hyena skin, or very short, potent incantations. And here is where it gets most interesting. The Bultungin, according to the legends, rarely act alone. They often work in crews, small groups of werebeasts who cover for one another, distracting dogs and livestock. This level of organization makes them a threat of a completely different order. They are not lone hunters, but something akin to a gang of nocturnal raiders. What makes them dangerous? Nighttime attacks on caravan encampments, preying on lone travelers. But the darkest deed attributed to them in the legends is the desecration of cemeteries. It is believed they do this to gain some kind of ritualistic power. The most horrifying thing the people of the Sahel speak of is their ability to mimic a human cry. They use it to lure a person out of their safe dwelling. You hear someone weeping at your door, you throw it open to help, and a hyena is waiting for you. This level of cunning is genuinely unnerving. They can be recognized in their human form by several strange signs. First, a heavy, metallic laugh and a breaking voice. Second, their eyes. It is said that the eyes of a Boltungan, even in human form, do not glow in the light of a torch. And the tracks? The classic picture. A human footprint that suddenly, for no apparent reason, transitions into the prints of a hyena. Dogs are terrified of them. Hyenas are dominant predators. But when a dog breaks its chain and snarls at a person who appears perfectly ordinary, it is a reason to be wary. In addition to this, Boltungan often leave behind a sweetish, musky odor. What should you do if you are in the Sahel and suspect a Boltungan is near? The local advice is to stick to light and noise. Bells, rattles, and large bonfires around the perimeter of the camp. The tales say that this breaks their coordination. Apparently, they prefer to work in silence and darkness, like professional thieves. Nahual, the Mesoamerican shape-shifting guardians. From the heat and dust of the Sahel, let us move to southern Mexico and Guatemala, where the traditions of the Mixtec, Zapotec, and Nahual peoples include the Nahual. This is perhaps the most complex werebeast to understand, because it is not always evil. A Nahual is a person who possesses an animal soul double. This spirit animal can be a coyote, a jaguar, or even an owl. In some traditions, the Nahual is a respected healer or a protector of the community. It uses its power to maintain balance. But, as with everything, there are dark Nahuals, avengers and saboteurs. They transform into their doubles to punish those who violate community laws. Their primary targets are people who destroy field boundaries, desecrate water sources, or break treaties made between villages. Their work is very specific. It is said they can silence dogs and suddenly extinguish the fires in homes. Imagine, you are sitting, a lamp is lit, and suddenly, complete darkness and silence, and you know it is no accident. How to identify one? Look for a twin track. This is when an animal print of the same length is found next to a human footprint. Furthermore, the Nahual is said to have a remarkable insensitivity to agave thorns and a strange memory for paths. They always choose the shortest, most efficient route. They do not wander. A shared glance is what is most frightening. If you happen to meet the gaze of a jaguar Nahual by a fire, you will notice its pupil seem to collapse vertically, like a cat's. And in their ordinary speech, they sometimes emit a rare hiss on the sounds of s and sh, as if the predator is breaking through their voice. They can be provoked. According to local lore, a Nahual is almost guaranteed to visit someone who has carried away foreign earth from the village, clods of soil or stones. One must not steal another's property, even if it is just dirt. Mesoamerican spirits are very zealous about their borders. Harimau Jadian, the tiger judges of Malaysia. We now head into the sweltering, dense forests of northeastern Malaysia, in the states of Kelantan and Pahang. Here, legends speak of the Harimau Jadian, which translates to Tiger Man. This being holds a very high place in local folklore, serving as both guardian and executioner. Its mission is to judge those who have violated the taboos of the forest. The transformation into a tiger may be a hereditary gift or achieved by wearing a shaman's cloak made from a striped hide. Their excursions are always punitive and selective. This is not a chaotic attack. Village tales are filled with stories of how the Harimau Jadian dealt with looters, poachers, and, most importantly, those who destroyed sacred groves. They are the perfect jungle police, operating in absolute silence. What do their actions look like? People speak of a soundless shadow of a stripe on the grass in the moonlight. When you see a sudden, feline, stalking print among human tracks, it is a bad sign. They attack swiftly and with precision, as if surgically removing a problem. How to recognize one? In human form, these gifted people can often be seen to have bright amber irises in the light of a candle. Another specific sign is a feline stillness of the neck when they listen. A person turns their head, but they turn their entire torso so as not to miss a single sound. The strictest advice from the local stories: never argue in the forest, and under no circumstances break the branches of sacred trees. And most importantly, do not leave blood on the trails. For the Harimau Jadian, this is apparently the clearest signal to begin cleansing the territory. The Adlet, the half-human, half-dog beings of the Arctic. Finally, we take our most drastic leap from the hot jungles of Malaysia to the icy wasteland of Greenland and the Canadian Arctic, to the Inuit tales of the Adlet. The Adlet is the absolute antithesis of all the previous entities. It is not a sorcerer, not a judge, but a physically super durable creature, born, according to old legends, from the union of a human and a dog. In some versions, they are described as entire clans that migrate along the edge of the ice. Their strength is their endurance. The Adlet are capable of running for days on end across the packed snow without slowing their pace. They are the embodiment of an Arctic nightmare, with which a human simply cannot compare in physical power. What makes them dangerous? Raids on winter camps, the theft of provisions, and, of course, the most valuable prize, dogs. But their main pastime often becomes testing visiting hunters. They lure a person out of a warm igloo and onto the ice, where the entire pack is already waiting for the hunter. The Adlet, according to the legends, has a double breathing rhythm, as if it has two chest cavities, which explains its incredible stamina. Its track on the packed snow is wider than a human's, but slightly narrower than a wolf's, and, of course, abnormally long distances between stops. It can travel where an ordinary person would simply collapse from exhaustion. They do not fear blizzards. They love them. The light of a torch cast upon their faces creates a brittle shadow, like one on walrus ivory, sharp and angular. If you are lost in the Arctic and suspect that an Adlet is hunting you, there is one very important piece of advice from the legends. Never leave single straight tracks leading to your camp. Make loops, break the trail, throw off the pursuit. In this game of survival, what matters is not speed, but cunning. We started in Bali and ended in Greenland, tracing the paths of very specific monsters. What unites the Leyak, the Boltongin, the Nahual, the Harimau Jadian, and the Adlet? The fact that they are not abstract demons. All of them are closely tied to local justice, ecology, and daily life. Whether it is protecting water sources in Guatemala or enforcing forest taboos in Malaysia.